Iran is older than you think. Not older in the sense of years alone, but older in memory, in continuity, and in the quiet endurance that defines civilizations that refuse to disappear. When most people hear the word Iran, they imagine a modern country drawn with borders, shaped by politics, and defined by news headlines. But those borders are young, those headlines are temporary. And the idea that Iran begins in the modern era is one of history's greatest misunderstandings. Iran is not just a country, it is a living civilization. Here is the first truth that often surprises people. Civilizations are not born suddenly. They emerge slowly, shaped by geography, tested by time, and preserved by memory. Iran's story did not begin with kings, empires, or even writing. It began with survival humans learning how to live in one of the most challenging and diverse landscapes on Earth. The Iranian plateau is not an easy place to inhabit. Mountains block movement. Deserts punish mistakes. Water is precious. Seasons are extreme. And yet, thousands of years ago, people here did something remarkable. They adapted. They built systems to move water across dry land. They learned when to plant, when to wait, and when to move. Geography became their teacher. Hardship became their training. In many ways, Iran's civilization was shaped not by abundance, but by constraint. And constraint, more than comfort, creates resilience. Long before the word Persia entered history, this land was already home to organized societies. One of the earliest was Elam, a civilization that emerged more than 5,000 years ago. Elamite cities had laws, religious rituals, architecture, and writing systems. These were not primitive experiments. They were deliberate responses to life, belief, and order. What matters here is not the name Elam itself, but what it represents. It tells us that civilization did not arrive in Iran from outside. It grew here. This challenges a common myth that progress flows in one direction, from one center to the rest of the world. Iran was not a receiver of civilization, it was a creator. Then came a turning point. In the 6th century BCE, a leader named Cyrus rose from this long civilizational memory. But Cyrus the Great did not invent Persia from nothing. He inherited centuries of experience, how to rule, how to organize, how to coexist. Under the Achaemenid Empire, Persia became the largest empire the world had ever seen. It stretched across continents, from the Mediterranean to Central Asia, from the Indus Valley to North Africa. But size alone does not define greatness. What made Persia extraordinary was how it governed diversity. Instead of forcing uniformity, it practiced tolerance. Local religions were respected. Local customs were preserved. Administration was structured, roads were built, and communication systems connected vast distances. This was not chaos. It was calculated order. A famous historical idea attributed to Cyrus is the principle that rulers should govern with justice rather than fear. Whether expressed in inscriptions or later interpretations, the concept itself mattered. Power was seen as responsibility. Persia did not rule by erasing identities. It ruled by managing them. Here is where tension enters the story. Empires rise, empires fall. History tells us this again and again, and Persia was no exception. Dynasties changed, invasions came, control shifted. By conventional logic, this should have been the end. But it wasn't. Something unusual happened after Persia's political dominance faded. Iranian civilization did not collapse, it transformed. Power moved from armies to ideas, from conquest to culture, from territory to memory. This is where many civilizations vanish. But Iran endured. Why? Because its identity was no longer stored only in institutions. It was stored in language, poetry, traditions, and shared values. Take language as an example. Languages usually disappear when empires fall. Persian did not. It adapted. It absorbed influences. It survived centuries of change and remained a carrier of thought, philosophy, and emotion. Poetry became history's archive. Ferdowsi's Shahnameh preserved Iran's pre-Islamic memory at a time when political continuity had been broken. This was not nostalgia. It was cultural survival. When laws change, culture remembers. When borders shift, stories remain. Now let's pause for a moment. If this perspective feels different from what you've heard before, that's not accidental. History is often simplified for convenience. But civilizations are not simple. If you value understanding history beyond surface narratives, stay with us. This channel exists precisely for viewers who ask deeper questions. Let's return to geography again, because geography never stops shaping history. Iran's mountains did more than block invasions, they shaped political boundaries. Its deserts forced innovation in water management, leading to systems that allowed cities to thrive where none should have existed. Its position along major trade routes turned Iran into a bridge between civilizations. The Silk Road was not just a road, it was a system of exchange goods, ideas, technologies, and beliefs. Iran was not merely on this network, it was central to it. Science followed the same paths. Astronomy, medicine, mathematics, and philosophy were studied, preserved, and expanded here. Knowledge was not rejected in favor of belief. It existed alongside it. This coexistence between reason and tradition is one of Iran's most overlooked strengths. Here is a simple scientific principle. Systems that adapt survive longer. Iran adapted. It absorbed change without losing continuity. It evolved without erasing memory. That is rare. Now let's talk about modern Iran, not as a political headline, but as a cultural reality. Modern cities rise beside ancient ruins. Young generations quote poets whose words are centuries old. Family, memory, and dignity remain core values, even as lifestyles change. This is not contradiction. It is continuity. Civilizations that survive learn how to carry their past without becoming trapped by it. Iran does this imperfectly, as all civilizations do, but it does it consciously. Here is the deeper insight. Civilizations are not defined by their most recent chapter. They are defined by how many chapters they remember. Iran remembers. It remembers through rituals like Nowruz, celebrated for over 3,000 years. It remembers through language, architecture, music, and moral values passed quietly from generation to generation. This is why Iran cannot be understood through a single era, a single government, or a single narrative. It is older than all of them. As we approach the end of this journey, ask yourself this question. What if history is not about judging the past, but understanding how the present came to be? Iran's story invites us to slow down, to look deeper, to see civilizations not as static objects, but as living processes. It reminds us that endurance is not loud. It is patient. This video is only the beginning. On Persian Lens, we explore civilizations, cultures, geography, and the hidden forces that shape our world, not to glorify, but to understand. This video is part of our Persia Explained series. If you believe that knowing the past helps us see the present more clearly, subscribe and explore Iran with us.